Good evening, or I should say good afternoon, and welcome to the second episode of the J&B podcast, featuring your co-host, John Giordano, and your other co-host, Brandon Schwartz. And this is John's first show on the JB podcast. So welcome to the show, John. How you doing today?
Good, Brandon. How are you today?
Very good, very good. It's good to have you on the show, man. I'm really looking for, I got to say, I've been doing the show. I did one show already. Um, you know, I really didn't love I had the background, didn't love it too much, but I think I like this setup a little better. Outside, especially, it's practically summertime, Memorial Day weekend, um, and I'm glad we were able to do the show outside today. I'm glad you're here. You got your Mets jersey on today,
Yep,
so tell me a little bit about how your Mets doing.
they're doing pretty well. Beat the Phillies last night, 8-6. Almost blew a 7-0 lead.
Yeah, I mean they've been playing very well, and I'm a little concerned because Scherzer's out for 6 to 8 weeks. But do you still think the Mets will have a successful run even without Scherzer for about a couple months?
I think so. You have Dallas Keuchel just DFA'd by the White Sox today.
Yeah, he was just really designated for assignment by the White Sox. So, do you think the Mets will make a run for him?
I could see it until DeGrom, Scherzer, or McGill come back.
Yeah, I mean, I like Keuchel. I always liked Keuchel. I thought he was always a fierce pitcher. I always thought he was a guy that would bring a lot to the table.
Hmm.
You know, he's something unique about Keuchel. But I mean, do you have confidence in the Mets even with guys like McGill, Bassett in your do you have confidence that they could carry the team until DeGrom and Scherzer come back?
I believe so, especially with the veterans like Cookie Carrasco.
Cookie Carrasco, I really like, and
Yeah.
Cookie Carrasco has gone through a lot, and
Leukemia.
he's just a warrior who he's a good pitcher too.
Yeah.
So, I wish the best for Cookie, and I hope that he stays with the Mets for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really glad that and listen, and I'm not a Met fan, but I'm glad for you. I'm glad for you and the Met fans that you guys are making a run. And this is the time of the year where the Mets usually break down and collapse and go downhill. But I don't think they will do that this year. I think they're going to breeze to the postseason, especially with practically 8 games ahead in the standings. I mean, because the NL East is not really great this year. I mean,
That's correct. Basically, the whole division's getting weaker.
the whole division, and the one team that's really shocking to me that is not doing great is the Philadelphia Phillies. They had a team that everybody thought would be really good, but I just think that they don't really, have what they just don't have that. They can't win.
Yeah, they have the pitching, but their defense will definitely hurt them.
Yeah. The
Like
defense.
You can't have Castellanos playing right field every day, and Schwarber and left.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm really glad, that these Philly Met games this year have been very competitive. Like,
Yeah.
Normally, I haven't. I guess I haven't been to more Met games ever than this year. I mean, because the Mets have been enjoyable to watch. The home run ball, the pitching has been by far the best. I mean,
Yep.
led by Max, but hopefully Bassett, Carrasco will keep going. But I'm really glad for you and the Met fans. And I really think that by the way we're looking right now, by today's date, because usually Memorial Day is one of the benchmarks of where we see
Yep.
how the teams are doing. By the way the standings look today,
I see the Mets are 7.5 up on the Braves as of right now.
7.5 above. By the
Eight.
way we're looking right now, I feel like the Mets and the Yankees are on the verge of breezing right to the postseason, not even having to play a wild card game, and they
Yeah.
shouldn't because they have these two teams have so much talent that they shouldn't have to play. They should be able to go right to the American League Division Series
Yeah.
and potentially even play a Subway Series World Series, which would be amazing.
considering that the only team in the NL with more wins than the Mets is the powerhouse LA Dodgers.
Yeah, and the Dodgers, and I'm not gonna lie, the Dodgers have been, I thought the Dodgers would be. I mean, they're really good, but I just don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna go to the World Series this year. I think it's gonna be. I think it's either gonna be the Mets or the Braves again in the NL. I really do. And I'm very excited because the Braves are a team that they might have not had the best start to the season, but they're about to really start winning games. I think the pitching is getting better. I think they're going to start winning games and getting close to the Mets, but I don't think the Mets will let them go ahead of them in the standings. I think the Mets will clearly win this division, and listen, I hope they do because it gives more of a chance for a Yankees Mets World Series, which everybody wants. Everybody would love in New York.
Braves are definitely missing Freeman, though.
I mean, listen, Freddie meant a lot to that town. I mean, everybody meant, and I've been to Atlanta, and when I was there, everybody had a heavy heart for Freddie, and they thought Freddie was God.
Mm-hmm.
They thought Freddie was the best guy they had in Atlanta in a while, and he was. But I think the Braves still have a good team with Acuna, Anderson on the mound. I think they got some good guys, but I think it's the team that they got to beat is the Mets, and I think the Mets are just still better. But you never know. Again, it's only the first benchmark of the season. It's Memorial Day weekend. I say the second benchmark is like July 4th. And then August is there, and then obviously October hits. But I'm really excited because we've had such a great baseball season to start off. We've gone to a couple of games in Philly. We've gone to a couple of games at Yankee Stadium. We've gone to a couple of games in Citi Field. And John, we have something planned for this summer with our good friend from Saravo Broadcasting, Doug Saravo. Where are we going? John, tell everyone where we're going this summer.
We will be in Seattle to go see the Yankees and Mariners play Monday, I believe it is August 8th at T-Mobile Park.
Yeah, so we're going to be in Seattle in August to see the Yankees there. So if anything, maybe we'll try and do a podcast in Seattle. Before obviously during that stay. But we're really looking forward to that. We're really looking forward to doing this. And if you don't know anything about me, I've actually gone to about most of the baseball stadiums in America, and Seattle's like my second to last one. And I'm hoping that I go to Texas next year, and I'm hoping Johnny gets to go to all the ballparks within the next couple of years because he's a big baseball fan.
I believe I am currently at 10.
10. You got about 20, right? 20 to go?
About that. We could cross Seattle off that list this year.
Then 19.
Maybe Boston.
Well, see, the easiest stadiums to go to are probably the Eastern Coast. And if you you could drive to like Cincinnati and, St. Louis.
Like we did that road trip last year.
Yeah. But driving across country, the only way to go is you got to fly. Obviously, airfare is very expensive right now due to, all the things in America going on.
All the fuel costs.
Yeah, so it's very hard to see the Western, it's easier to see the Eastern United States stadiums right now. But I'm really hoping that you get to see all the stadiums because you deserve it, and you're one of the biggest baseball fans I know, and you have you have excellent baseball knowledge of everything about baseball. I mean, you ask me questions about baseball that I don't even know the answers to. I mean, I just say, I don't know. But listen, I give you credit for asking this question because I don't even know anything about that. But yeah, baseball's your thing, man, and I hope that we talk a lot about baseball on this podcast. As again, we're off to an excellent season. So, John, tell me, how many Met games do you think you're going to go to this year? How many have you gone to already?
Probably at least 3 or 4. I believe they've all been with you.
And what about Doug? Doug has gone to a few with us.
Yes, I believe 2 Met games. Then that 1 Yankee. So you agree with Doug?
Yeah, and it's been a fun time. I really have enjoyed it. I really have.
Especially the best part when Brandon Nimmo comes to the plate.
Especially when Brandon Nimmo comes to the plate. Yeah, as always a good time. It's always a good time. But
We found out who his number one fan is.
yeah. But he's been very good.
Yes,
And Nemo's been a good player, and he was the beginning of this. He was at the beginning when before a lot. I mean, he was there he was with the team for a few years already.
I believe he came up in 2016.
So he was at the beginning when they started rebuilding.
Yes,
And then Alonso came in, what, 2017,
19.
2019, and then they just went on a roll.
Mhm.
I mean, they had Cespedes for a couple of years. They
Yep.
had
Before he decided to break his ankle.
yeah. I'm hearing reports. I mean, Cespedes, is he coming back to? I mean, where is he?
Don't even know, but his half brothers in the White Sox system.
Really?
Yoelki.
How's he doing this year? I haven't seen his numbers.
Not sure, but he's apparently a very good prospect up there
Really?
with Yoenis.
Interesting. See, that's one thing that John knew that I didn't know. John, you knew this stuff inside and out. But I didn't even know Cespedes had a brother. How is he? Is he like a couple of years in?
He's going to be 25 this year, younger than me.
Okay.
Been around, I think, only since last year.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find his general information about. He only got signed last year. While we're talking about the Mets, we should talk about a very important anniversary that just came up today.
Yeah.
The very famous Terry Collins rant
Really.
on Tom Hallion
That. Yeah. I mean, Terry Collins.
when Noah Syndergaard was thrown out for throwing at Chase Utley
Love Terry Collins.
6
He's
years
awesome.
ago today. And yesterday happened to be his birthday.
Really.
Yes.
Terry Collins' birthday?
Yep.
Happy birthday, Terry. Wish you best, man. But he was. I mean, listen. Obviously, he had a couple of good runs with the Mets when they went to the World Series.
The first ever playoff appearance for him in 20-something years in this game.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good. They had a good team, but I think I like this team a lot better. And listen, I think even if you put, if you put Terry Collins as a head coach, as a manager now with the Mets, I think he'd still be good with this team.
Buck's a very
But
good
Buck
manager.
is very good. I'm really enjoying Buck. I've always enjoyed Buck. Even when he was with the Orioles, I enjoyed Buck. Buck has always been and I compare him to Tom Thibodeau a lot. Very aggressive, very, very. They make your players play hard every night. There's no letting down. But I'm really excited for Buck. Who knows? Buck might win a World Series this year. You never know. But we got a long way to that.
Maybe it would be nice to see him win one. How long he's been in this game?
He deserves one. If anybody deserves a World Series, it's Buck, because Buck has meant a lot to baseball and meant a lot to a lot of teams. So
Him and Dusty Baker definitely are the two that you would think need to win a title before they retire.
I agree. I mean, Dusty Baker, I like a lot too. He's another manager that just has that, overall fierce ability. When it comes down to making your players play hard, compassion to the game, and he's got that. They all have those guys have that kind of ability. But overall, I'm very excited for when it comes to the summer in terms of baseball. It's always a good time to see a baseball game in the summer.
Even playing them.
The weather's warm.
Yeah.
The ball flies out of the ballpark
Yep.
a lot. Listen, I'm not saying I like sitting in Yankee Stadium at 100 degrees,
Which we dealt with last
which
week.
we dealt with a couple of weeks ago last week when we went to when they played who they play
White Sox.
when they played the White Sox.
When Donaldson has a little issue with Tim Anderson.
But I look forward to the 85 degrees at Yankee Stadium. In the summer. Nothing better than sitting there watching a nice baseball game, and especially with this team, 33-13. 33-13, John, and I couldn't be more proud of these guys. I mean, these guys have just put on a show, and especially, who's put on a show? I really think, I like these guys like Kiner Falefa. I like Trevino, who have stepped up a lot.
Mm.
They're not home run hitters, but they've had
Mm.
really, they've had to make clutch plays when they need to, and I like that, and I think that's important when it comes down to winning baseball games against tough teams.
Mm.
And look at this, they played the Orioles the other night. Wasn't an easy series.
Nope.
They didn't even blow out the Orioles in any game. They just came close and won them.
Yep.
But you had Trevino with a walk off. You had you had a couple of homers by Judge, but they had to grind those wins out against the Orioles because the AL East is very tough now. The Orioles are not
Yep.
an easy out anymore. They got some young talent now, but it's important that the Yankees can keep on consistently winning, and
Mm.
hopefully Giancarlo comes back healthy after the calf strain, and hopefully they fix the bullpen a little bit.
Yep.
Now, what's your thoughts on the Yankees? Do you think do you think the Yankees should be worried that they have Giancarlo out right now? Some of the bullpen guys are out. Chad
Donaldson
Green,
down.
Donaldson's out.
Well, with their tough schedule coming up, they could be a little worried. They finish up with the Rays. They play the Angels. Tigers, I believe, is next weekend. Don't even know who the rest of their schedule is coming up.
Yeah, I think they're playing the Cubs coming up too.
Yep. But they're not as good.
I mean,
Even though they have Marcus Stroman, who did decent with the Mets last year.
yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, listen, just Yankees got to go out there and just play every game hard. This is the kind of year where you got to think every game's a playoff game because before you know it, boom, it's the postseason.
Yep.
But John, both our teams are looking great.
Yep.
Both our teams are looking great. And when we come back from this commercial break, we're going to talk a little bit about the National Basketball Association and what we think about our finals predictions for this year's NBA Finals. And once again, this JB podcast is brought to you by our good friends at Saravo Broadcasting and all of them involved with Saravo Broadcasting. All right, we're back on the JB podcast along with John Giordano. I'm Brandon Schwartz. Before we get into NBA, John actually wanted to bring something up.
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, ESPN New York tweeted if you could combine the Mets and Yankees when they were both the two best teams in the league, how would you write your lineup? And I actually replied to him. I said, Brandon Nimmo leading off in center field, Aaron Judge batting second and right, Lindor at short, Alonso at first, Stanton DHing, LeMahieu at second, Donaldson at third, McNeil in left, and catcher James McCann while Max Scherzer's on the mound. What do you think about that, Brandon?
I like that lineup. I think it's well put out. I think every player in the lineup has actually played very well.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that I think has played the best is Judge. I think Judge has just got off to an amazing start, and I don't think he could get off to a better start than what he's doing now. He's on the pace of hitting like 90 home runs if he keeps going at this pace. But anything could happen. But that's actually, I like that lineup, John. It's very good.
And another thing from a couple days ago when the Mets were playing the Giants in that wild game, my friend Kevin Miller, who lives out in California now, got a message sent to me from what looks like Drew Smith, reliever on the Mets, who's been having a pretty good year until we won a couple weeks ago against Seattle.
Interesting.
He was sitting out by the bullpen that night and got this video sent to me that Drew recorded.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's just been an interesting season so far. Very fun to watch. John, let's go over to the NBA now.
Okay.
We got a team that's already we got the Golden State Warriors that have already made it to the NBA Finals already. And listen, we all knew that they were going to get there once they, listen, the Mavericks had a good run in the postseason, but listen, the Warriors are just a better team.
Yep.
Um, but we got an interesting Game 7 coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people have predicted that there was going to be a Game 7 in the series because I think that the Celtics are the better team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Heat are a good team. I just think the Celtics play a lot stronger. I think they play a lot bigger, and I think they play a lot better in terms of shooting the basketball.
Mhm.
But
Of course, we saw both teams this year.
We saw both teams.
While we were in Miami, we saw the Heat beat the Nets, and the Celtics played the Knicks home opener.
Yeah, it was a good thing. And the Knicks, of course,
what happened to your Knicks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, they started off the season well, and then they just fell apart. I mean, listen, what do you expect?
We definitely live in a factory of sadness with all these teams.
Yeah, exactly. But this Game 7 is interesting. I mean, from Miami, I think it's going to be a close Game 7. I think it's going to come down to the last minute. I don't think any team's giving up in Game 7. I think it's going to be a close game. But I got to say, I can't tell you who I'm predicting. I think both teams have an equal opportunity of moving on to the NBA Finals because I feel like it's weird. The Heat are number one in terms of their standings, but I think in terms of their overall talent, I think the Celtics are just as good or maybe even better.
Mm.
I like the Celtics and what they have. I think Jaylen Brown has turned into an elite player. I think Jason Tatum has just been off the charts. Superstar level. Marcus Smart, very good. Al Horford surprisingly comes out of nowhere and listen, Al Horford has had a great run in the NBA, but nobody thought he'd be at this level when he came to Boston. But he's just overall dominated with this Boston Celtics team, and the coach has done a great job with this team. Young coach comes in. Brad Stevens lets go. They let Brad Stevens go. He comes in and just this team keeps winning under his leadership. And I'm very, and I never really said this about the Celtics, but I'm kind of hoping that they win the NBA Finals because, I like the Warriors, but I think I'd rather see the Celtics win the finals, and I think there's a good chance that they could do that with the way they play.
You see what famous icon was in the stands the other night?
Who was there?
Big Papi.
Oh yeah. I mean, he probably lives in Boston still, so
probably Hall of Famer this year.
Yeah, but what do you think? What do you think of what's your finals predictions going forward for this NBA Finals this year?
Not really too crazy on basketball.
If you had to pick two teams, who would you think?
I would think I would like to see Miami go.
You'd like to see Miami? Again, I think it's going to be a very close Game 7. I really do. And
I think Miami wins in 7.
And the line says it all. I mean, literally, it says Boston is the favorite, -2.5, and I could see why.
Want to travel down to Miami? Only $244.
I would do that in a second, but you never know. But I'm very excited for Game 7 tomorrow night. It's going to be a fun time. Nothing better than a Game 7 in South Beach. It's always now. Listen, there's two places I would say is a great place for Game 7s. I think the Garden is one, and games in Miami's two. I think those are the two of the best spots to have Game 7s in. New York, Miami, it's two excellent spots to have a Game 7, and it works out perfectly this year. But again, the winner of this game, the Celtics Heat Game 7 tomorrow, will move on to the NBA Finals against the Warriors. And whoever plays the Warriors, it's going to be an epic NBA Finals because the Warriors just consistently shoot the three ball well, and I'm curious that once James Wiseman comes back, how is this going to impact this team even more? Will it get better? It probably will. This team is just going to get better with James Wiseman back because James Wiseman was their number one overall pick
Mm.
when they tanked a couple of years ago.
Mm.
But I'm looking forward to seeing James Wiseman play. I like James Wiseman. I liked him when he was with Memphis. Uh, so we'll see what happens. What's your thoughts on James Wiseman?
Really have nothing. Don't pay too much attention to these teams. Only the locals.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, John. I want to get into. I mean, listen, we don't have that much time remaining. We only got
Yeah.
about 5 minutes left.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about. What do you think the Knicks are going to do this offseason? Because a lot of people want to hear like what the Knicks are thinking this offseason. Will they make a move for like Donovan Mitchell?
Mm.
What are they going to do in the draft? So what do you think is going to happen this offseason?
I could see them going to attempt to bring Mitchell home. That his father, of course, works for the Mets. He's been seen at a couple Mets games,
Okay.
and he seems to love being around here. If not them, maybe the Nets if they don't retain Kyrie.
Yeah, I listen. And what's going on in Brooklyn right now is a big question mark because nobody knows what's going to happen with Nash. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the future of Kyrie.
Yep.
Who knows? This team could be split up in a few years. You never know.
Yeah.
But
The problem is when they play the Raptors, they can't have their best players if they're not vaccinated still.
well, they still have that mandate there.
believe so, since it's still going for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, listen, but still, they have to worry. Listen, they had they had Kyrie, they had Kevin Durant playing. They got swept by the Celtics, and who would think that would happen?
Probably no one.
That was embarrassing.
Yep.
I mean, and the Knicks fans were just laughing at them, like, haha, you got these superstars, and you didn't even win one game in the first round. And listen, you have a right to laugh. The Knicks were expecting these guys in the 2019 free agency,
Yeah.
and then one day we saw when immediately free agency opened, you
Yep.
see Kyrie, Kevin Durant sign with the Nets, which was the worst,
Mhm.
probably in my opinion, the worst nightmare that I ever dealt with.
Mhm.
Because the whole year we were talking about, we're going to bring Zion Williamson in we're going to draft him number one. We're going to bring in Kevin and Kyrie. We have all this money. And then that never happened.
Mhm.
It never happened. But I like I like what we did. We rebuilded. We brought in Obi. We brought in the guys like Quickly. We brought in.
You just like pain. Well, the teams you like.
Listen, I don't think the Knicks are. I think the Knicks are on a great track right now.
Mm.
I just think that they have to learn how to be good in close games. I think they've had a lot of trouble in close games. They haven't been able to finish out close games. They haven't been able to get the ball to the right guy in close games. Question is, will Julius Randle, be with the Knicks in the future? Question marks are on the table. We hope he is. I mean, listen, Julius is just a very good guy to have on your team. He didn't have the best year last year. He didn't have the best year, this season. He had a good season when they had the 72 game season last year when they went to the playoffs. But this year he wasn't great at all. It wasn't great at all. But I'm looking forward. There's one guy that I think is going to really be on top of his game next year. I think that goes to Obi Toppin. I think Obi Toppin has a really good future ahead of him. He had a great game 82 when they played the Raptors. He had about 30-something points. He was unstoppable. He just kept scoring the basketball. I'm looking forward to seeing Obi next year. Obi's a guy that could bring, when he's healthy, 20 to 25, 30 points a game. What are your thoughts on Obi Toppin?
Haven't really seen him enough to have thoughts from when we've gone.
Yeah. But are you excited for now? Are you excited for the NBA draft coming up?
I don't really follow as much as the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a couple of guys in this NBA draft that listen, there's not too many guys, but I'm looking forward to seeing where, the guys like, Rutgers, Ron Harper goes. He was seen at the draft combine practicing. They said he looked very good. But I'm really looking forward to this NBA draft lottery,
The one I'm interested to see if he goes pro is Gillespie from Villanova.
Yeah, that's one guy that I really like. But the only problem I have with Gillespie is he's very injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
And will he be healthy with an NBA team? Speaking of Gillespie,
Yeah.
where do you think the future of Jay Wright goes?
I could see him maybe turning pro after all this. I don't think he's going to go to another college team after all that success at Nova. 2 titles in 3 years.
2 titles in 3 years. That's excellent.
Yep.
Can't get better than that. I mean, really.
Considering they beat UNC at the buzzer.
They just have some team, and they always have. The Jay Wright dynasty has just been amazing. I mean,
Yep.
one of the best college programs in all of basketball.
Yep.
And I think Duke is up there. Obviously, Duke's up there. You know, a lot of but I was really thrilled. Especially when we went to that Villanova game this year when we showed up at halftime.
Yes.
I mean, they look very good.
Even though you had card trouble.
Yeah, yeah, but I had a good time at that game, and that was my very first Villanova game I was ever at.
Yep.
You've been to obviously Villanova games before.
I went to one at Monmouth years ago, but that was the first in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, yeah. But
we do have to go to the main campus still for a game next season.
Oh yeah, we should. We should, and
I believe that someone from Fordham took over. Am I correct?
I haven't seen anything.
Right as soon as Jay Wright stepped down.
But Jay Wright, I hope he gets another gig somewhere because anybody would want him.
Let's see who's their coach right now. Well, of course you can't trust Wikipedia, but they are currently wrong listing it as Jay Wright.
Yeah, I mean have they hired anybody yet?
I believe they did. Is Kyle Neptune.
Kyle Neptune?
I believe he had some ties to Fordham before he came to Villanova.
Gotcha. But we're getting closer to, we're getting close. Before you know it, it's going to be college basketball season.
Yep.
And what do you have? Who do you think is going to be the best team going forward in next year's college basketball season?
I could see Kansas up there coming off the championship. UNC.
I mean, Kansas is just a powerhouse. I mean,
Baylor.
They really are. Yeah, and in Baylor, I thought they were going to go far, but they unfortunately fell out. That's March Madness for you.
I could see Villanova still being like top 10, even without Jay Wright. They still have a lot of good returning players, as far as we know.
Yeah, and I'm hoping in the future we have people on the show that will talk about college basketball. I know somebody. I'm going to try and get him on the show. Maybe we'll talk some college football. But before you know it, it's also college football season. Yep. College football season is one of the most exciting times a year for a lot of people. Games all around the fun. As we're very close to Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
So Rutgers football is always a fun time.
Yep.
Big Ten football.
You could travel out to, say, Notre Dame. I've been there for a game against Pitt. That was very fun.
Notre Dame is a nice little, it's a nice college. It really is.
Yes.
Older campus, but very nice.
Yep.
I like how they have the setup there.
Even though they have a new coach this year, because Coach Kelly left for
Yeah.
LSU. Right
Brian
before the bowl
Kelly,
game.
one of the better coaches, and he'll definitely be missed there, but he'll find probably another gig somewhere else.
Yep.
But when we come back from this commercial break, we're gonna wrap it up for you guys and tell you our closing thoughts. All right, we're back here on the J&B podcast with John Giordano, Brandon Schwartz. So, this was, I did a show already, but I really consider this our first show because you're here, John.
Yep.
We're outside. It's summertime. We got a lot of sports going on.
Yep. A lot of MLB going on right now.
Yeah, a lot of MLB, and we even got a Ranger game tonight. Game 6 with the Hurricanes at the Garden. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game, hopefully. Um, you know, everybody hopes that, you know, we get a close game. Uh, you know, Rangers, they win tonight. I really think they can move on to the next round. I think the Rangers are the better team. I really do. I think that they could beat this team. I really do. I'm very excited to see this game tonight, John. What about you?
Should be interesting. Haven't seen much of Rangers, more of an Islanders and Devils guy, but should be a very interesting game tonight.
Yeah, and you listen, and I'm not the biggest hockey fan, but listen, Garden hockey is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the crowd goes wild. Just seeing people fling those towels, just exploding there. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so glad that, and you know, obviously the Knicks aren't in the playoffs this year, but at least the Rangers are in it. It makes up for the Knicks not being in the postseason. But
at least they got past the first round, unlike the Nets.
yeah, I mean, look at that. So all good in the Garden right now. All good in the Garden. Listen, imagine if the Knicks were in the playoffs too.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if they went to the NBA Finals.
That would be a mess with their scheduling.
Oh my God! Imagine. And listen, you never know; it could happen. Listen, the NBA has changed because you feel like teams just came out of nowhere and went to the NBA Eastern Conference Finals and stuff. But you never know.
If you think about it, hockey's playoffs take a lot longer than the NBA. Were they only in the second round right now?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they had a COVID breakthrough during the season. That's why I had to postpone the playoffs a little bit because they had a 3 week hiatus.
I remember that we were supposed to go. When was it?
In late November, I think.
I think it was
December.
early, and then they got postponed a month.
Yeah, but
with one of our good buddies, right?
Yeah, Dougie
and
Tony
and
Madison.
Yep.
All good in the hood. And I'm hoping that we have those guys on the show sometime. You know, they really are good. They know. I'm gonna try and have Maddie on. Maybe talk a little bit about the Nets. I'll try and talk about. I'm trying to have Tony maybe talk about
his life.
Yeah, we'll have Tony on a couple of times. Maybe we'll have we're gonna have Doug on many times, obviously, because Doug is a good buddy of ours, and you know, Doug is just. We really love working with Doug. He knows a lot about sports. He's very, you know, enthusiastic about the podcasting industry. So we hope that we have him on many times.
Yep.
But on that note, guys, you were listening to the J&B podcast. J&B podcast has been brought to you by our good friends at Sarava Broadcasting. You can tune into any Sarava Broadcasting episode on the Anchor app or anywhere on the Apple, Spotify, anywhere, podcast applications all over. But on that note, guys, John Giordano, thank you for coming on the show today, buddy. It was a pleasure seeing
fun,
you.
Brandon.
And we will do another show soon. And listen, I hope that your Mets continue to win and they continue to stay on a consistent note, even without their Top Gun Scherzer and DeGrom.
And even though my baseball team had to turn around ourselves.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But we got a lot to look forward to. We got our first show underway, J&B Podcast. We got a lot more to look forward to. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. It is time for summer, and we hope that we see you all soon. Have a good one, everybody.